Here is my basket of recent produce from the garden, and today I'm going to show you exactly what I'm going to do with them. So I have let them ripen just a bit more I picked these about 2 days ago, and I think that they are ripe enough. So I'm putting them in a sink of water to wash them first, and then we'll show you what I plan to do with these. They are some of the most awesome plum tomatoes that you can get. They're a grape type, very firm, very meaty, and very sweet, and everyone loves them. And these I got the seed from my mother years ago, and I plant them every year just to ensure that I can continue to get seed every year. I still have seed that I've saved from 5 years ago. It's probably still viable, but I will collect seed again this year as well, and obviously date it so that we know that it is this year's seed. And as I say, normally I would have picked these a little riper right off the vine or left them a lot longer, because they are extremely firm, and it wouldn't hurt to leave them there until they're so ripe that you think that you should have picked them a while ago, and they're still beautiful. Okay, so I'll get back to you after I get everything else ready here. Okay, I may save a few of these for tomato salad, but the bulk of them will be dehydrated. And I don't know if you can see how firm these still are. Now I can certainly cut that little bit of green off, but I don't need to. So I'm going to just cut them in half and put them face down on my dehydrating trays. And then what we'll do with them when they're dry is, my daughter's into making fancy breads, so I told her I would bring her a whole bunch of these dehydrated little tomatoes that she can use to make sun-dried tomato bread. So, like, she makes bread with olives and all kinds of other things, and she's gotten quite handy with making that, and I probably will try doing the same thing myself. I'll save some for me. But I'm going to have quite the harvest of these over the next month, so perhaps the first batch will go to her. And as you can see, it doesn't take long to make a tray full. I'm going to save a few of them to make a tomato salad, and I'll show you how I do that. And we do tomato salads quite consistently, depending on the meal we're going to have. If it is something that will complement the meal, I'll do a tomato salad on the side. Like if I'm going to do a pasta dinner, for sure, we'll have a tomato salad on the side. And I do that as often as I can over the summer while we have these. You know, having a fresh tomato salad is pretty awesome, and it's not the same after the season is over. I mean, certainly you can do the same thing with store-bought tomatoes, but they just don't taste the same. Anyone that tries to tell you they do has not tasted tomatoes that have been grown in your own yard. So, okay, well, this is the process. This is what I'm going to do with the harvest. Somebody did ask me, what are you going to do with your garden harvest? And you've seen what I've done with the beans. Now this is what I'm doing with the little tomatoes. I also, my herbs are hanging to dry, and herbs are another thing that I always plant every year. This particular thyme seed that I have, and once again I keep the seed from year to year from the plant itself. And I've also planted a lot of sage, which I will dry as well. And not that I use an awful lot of that, but maybe I can learn to use a little bit more than what I do. There are apparently recipes that people tell me are really awesome using sage. I always thought it was a very strong spice, but I hear that depending on how it's used, it's actually not that strong. So yeah, herbs, tomatoes, green peppers. I may just try to leave them. I've got tons of little green peppers, and I may just try to leave them until they turn red. We'll see what happens there. I'll probably pull a few. I've already got a few in there in the fridge, and they're not being used, so that's not really a good thing. So I'm going to try and leave as many as I can to get red, and after that we can do something special to preserve those as well. So, okay. This is what I'm doing with the tomatoes, and I'll get back to you after I've done to see how many trays of this I've got for this go around. Okay, so I did say I was going to show you how I make a tomato salad using these little grape tomatoes. And first of all, once again, I just slice them in half. You could make them a little smaller than that if you choose to. And I try to just make enough for a meal for the two of us as a side dish, obviously. Okay, and you don't want to make too much because you won't eat it all. I think that'll do. And so the key ingredients are, I have this. It's actually thyme. You can use oregano, but this is a very strong thyme, and they're very similar in flavor. So I've just sprinkled that on the tomatoes. And the other thing you can add, which goes extremely well with tomatoes, is basil. And I've got some fresh basil that I brought up from the farm and re-rooted, and it's growing beautifully. And so I'm just slicing up a bit of that and adding it to it. And of course, lots of garlic. Can't have a tomato salad without lots of garlic. Now the garlic can be as strong as you prefer, or it really is to your taste. Of course, if you're not a garlic lover, you may want to omit it, but to me this is what makes the salad. So now I would just let that sit as is, and just before serving I would add a drizzle of oil, okay, and a drizzle of red wine vinegar. I have, you can certainly use apple cider vinegar if you like, but for me, it's the red wine vinegar that gives this the flavor that I want. And salt to taste, and I don't want to add the salt until I'm ready to serve it as well, because the salt will draw out the liquid from the tomatoes, and we don't necessarily want to do that. So yeah, just a drizzle of your favorite olive oil and a drizzle of your favorite vinegar, whether it's wine vinegar, apple cider vinegar, white vinegar if you don't have any other choice. As I said, my preference is the red wine vinegar. Okay, that's how I make a tomato salad. Okay, well I have all 5 of my trays filled with the tomatoes that I've sliced in half. As you can see, there's every one of them is filled. And I'm going to put these on the dehydrator probably for about a day. And I may have to check on them and then move the trays up and down so that the ones on top will get dehydrated as well as the ones at the bottom. I don't have an expensive dehydrator, but it does the job. And I suspect I will not replace it until this one dies. And then perhaps I'll get a good one. I also have more than enough tomatoes left for at least 2 to 3 salads for my husband and I. I would say that's at least 3 tomato salads. So I'll have more than enough tomatoes to last until I manage to get up to the farm and get some more out of my garden. And I'll probably repeat this process about 3 or 4 times this year, having tomato salads for dinner and dehydrating a whole bunch of these little tomatoes. So that is what I do with my garden harvest, or I did last year, and I'm doing it this year as well. I also tend to give a lot of these away. I have a friend who always comes up and asks for quite a few of these. And yes, he's back, and I'm sure that we'll see him soon, and I'm sure he'll be asking me for some. He does every year. And my granddaughter eats them like candy. Although I've been told don't bring up any fresh ones because their neighbor is growing some tomatoes specifically for them. I guess my daughter's neighbor is into growing fruits and vegetables as well, and he specifically put in some tomato plants for them. So she told me yes, she'd love the dried ones, but don't bring up anything fresh. So, okay, well, I hope you enjoyed this video and give you an indication of what you can do with a garden harvest. This is just one thing that we can do with tomatoes. I'll be going into a long process, a long video of how I can up tomatoes for the whole year very shortly. So if you do like this video, please like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one. And thank you so much for watching. Okay, well, that is the end result of the dried cherry tomatoes. Just have to put them in a jar now. Okay, there it is. All of that made not even a quart-sized jar full of cherry tomatoes. Now, this group specifically is going to my daughter, but I'll be doing this at least 4 or 5 times this year, and I will probably be adding them to soups and stews and all kinds of things. Yeah, they turned out quite nice, actually. Okay, hopefully you liked this video, and if you did, please subscribe, like, comment, and share. Thank you, and have a great day.